Okay.
Ready as I'm going to be.
So you're live.
Well, I feel alive. Hi, guys. Hope everybody's doing fine. Anybody that needs encouragement, you can always count on me. I rarely ever go around being depressing. So there's quite a few people I've told, hey, anytime you need a cheerleader, call me. Um, that being said, uh, it's been an interesting week since I saw the last group of you who might have been with me on the last live stream. Uh, Matter of fact, yesterday I was on a really tall roof, metal roof, and I got to use my Cougar Paws, which are the special shoes. I think they're around $200. They have magnets in them, and they're so uh, you can't really look at them and see the magnets, so you kind of worry about it. But they did work well. It was a steep roof. It was a high roof, and the day before was ice and snow about halfway up. So you got all this things in your head that you go through. But when I went ahead and did it and got all the screws tightened up on that roof so that a house commercial building, would not have a reason to not sell. So that one of the ask was, can you get this where the screws are not up, because we can see screws standing up. And so the owner asked me to get involved, and I've known him for quite a long time. And so I climbed up there. He told me that the roof was clear the day before, and it certainly wasn't. Um, anyway, that was one of the interesting things that I did. But on the way home, a longtime friend slash customer called me and said, "Hey, I'm having a bad day. I wonder if you could help me." I was like, "Sure, whatever it is you need me to do." Well, I drove through the garage door, and he actually drove through the garage door, through the wall that was behind the garage door, through that, cross furniture, and drove into his washroom where the wash machine and dryer was, and smashed that wall, and water was flowing out, and he couldn't get out of the truck. They actually had to get a fire department, and he was just totally embarrassed by it. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but everybody goes through some kind of embarrassing thing. So he called me around 2:30, 2:45, and by 5 o'clock, I had it all cleaned up to get built a wall, put the insulation back in, put some plywood up so the wind doesn't blow through. Got all his electricity turned on, everything that might be a problem. They had turned all electricity off, and capped off his water so that it wouldn't be running water. He could have his water. So he was concerned, and they told him, you may have to go get a motel. So we did all that from the time he called me and I arrived, probably in 2 hours. We took care of it all, and I spent some time with him, hugging him and telling him, hey, we all go through, some embarrassing things that we go through, and we're all flesh and blood. This is just a journey. And I told him, I was like, uh, I want to get a ring, and I still haven't done it, that says on it, to remind me of the good times, not to get too confident, and the bad times, not to be too depressed about it. It is a saying that says, this too shall pass. So, to get him to understand that everything, all the tough times, all the embarrassing times will, at some time, it will pass, usually pretty quickly. But this too shall pass. The good times disappear too. Don't get too big headed about it. So, anyway, what we're going to be talking about today or tonight is how to keep employees. And so you might understand, I do have some experience with that. I was a field superintendent, I was a foreman for many, many years. Uh, in commercial construction, you didn't usually get to choose your crew. You usually worked with whoever they sent you from the office. You might have some clout and say, hey, could you send me da da da? Because I was, as a journeyman, I was the guy that they would say, hey, could you send him over? But most of the time you don't get that. So, that's, there are people in the commercial trades that you go, you know what, I don't want to work for that guy. I'm out. I'm not working for that guy. You have to be a really class A jerk to get people in the commercial trades to not work for you, you know. But there are some out there that just cannot deal with people, cannot lead people. They can just be jerks. Okay, that is what I'm telling you. You should not do. Okay, I have had personally in this repair business that we're discussing uh, on how to have one. One guy worked for me nearly 9 years. He took a stretch there where he started his own business, and that seems to be a continuing thing with guys who work for me. They go off and start their own business. Some of them successful, some of them not. But I never have thought of it as a bad thing. Now, 9 years, one guy. I had another guy that worked for me 7. Uh, Several guys who worked for me 4 and 3, 5. And I don't work a lot of guys. At one point, I had 9, but I just don't work a lot of people. So that means that you have to interact with me a lot. I'm interacting with you. I'm dealing with you. So if I was a really hard guy to work with, then I wouldn't have kept those people, unless they're just willing to be sheep and be mismanaged and harried and mistreated for long periods of time. So this is what I'm telling you to set you up. I do know how what things that my help and a wide variety of personalities, by the way, my help would want to be a part of working for me. So this is what I'm going to share with you. Okay. So whenever you first start off, a lot of guys make the mistake of saying, well, this is what I'm not going to put up with. I'm not going to put up with this and I'm not going to put up with that. Blah, blah, all these rules about they're not going to be able to, you're not introducing yourself. Hey, I'm going to be tough and really, really tough. These are all the things you better not do. That's not lifting anybody up. Yes, those things need to be defined at some point, but is that really the start of your relationship? No. So what you want, and you'll find that in every one of these things, when it comes to dealing with employees, I point to what you need to do, what you need to do to improve yourself so that you can do the things you need to do with your employees. And there are tons of books, tons of videos, tons of recordings that you can use to rewire the way you think, despite all the pressure that you have, all the frustrations you have with these people that you have to absorb the cost. Despite all that, how to be a strong, confident, encouraging person. There's a good word, encouragement. So when they first start with you, a lot of times they don't have any experience about what you're doing. You have the experience of what type of work you're doing and what type of relationship you have with people. Is it strictly business like I'm not friendly at all? We're going to stick to the contract, and I'm not going to I don't have time to get anything beyond what I contracted with you to do. No, that's not what I do. And it kind of blends in with how I treat the guys who work with me because we're a team. They are not just tools, but they are a human being that I am sharing an experience with. So I go out of my way to get to know them and talk about myself and explain to them how I think about things. Sometimes they don't want to talk about themselves. It takes a while sometimes to get some of these characters to let you know how they feel about things. But as long as they know how you feel about things, how the positive things that you are thinking about, and that's part of it, you need to be positive. You're going to be encouraging them to be like you. So that not exactly like you, but so that you can act as though you're a team. So one of the themes that I have been really, really focused on is it's our job to make other people's lives better. So how do we do that? Well, part of it is, you're not going to stink. Okay. You don't want to be, have your armpits overwhelming everybody. You want to have decent, clean clothes. You can have stains on your pants. You can have paint on your pants and things like that. But you're trying to leave an impression upon these people that you are there to make their life better, not like you're coming there with all the dirt and everything. Now, sometimes you come from another job straight over to it, and you have to explain to them, hey, we are kind of dirty right now. Excuse us. But we just came out from crawling underneath the house. I hope you can put up with this. Usually you can dust yourself off quite a bit. But what you're doing is you're going into these people's house. So you're explaining that to your customer and your employee that we're here to make your life better. So that's not going to be an everyday thing. So you have to convey that. What it is that you want to convey to the customer, you have to tell that employee, this is what I'm trying to get across. And this is what I'm hoping that you and I can be a team about. We can work together and get things done. And I can leave, a responsibility and see how you do. I'm not going to overwhelm you, or maybe I will, and we'll see how it works out. I'll always be there to catch you. I'll always, be willing to overlook mistakes because mistakes happen. So this is exactly how you would treat another human being. Now, you're not going to walk up to somebody at a restaurant and say, hey, let's go to work. No, that's not, but it's somebody who wants to work with you. You've not had to, what is the word? Bully them into working for you, obviously. They have many, many other choices. So do you need, once you got them trapped working for you, do you then need to be the bully with them? No, you don't need to do that. You don't have any need. You need to encourage them to seek your viewpoint so that they can do what you think needs to be done. That means you have to be the leader. You have to be decisive. And if you need to think about it, you just tell them, hey, I need a little bit of time to think about what I need to do here. Just give me a minute. Just consideration. These are all very, very simple things, but very, very important things. Communication is may not be your strong suit, but guess what? That's a tool that you're going to learn to use or fail because of not using it. You need to communicate. You need to communicate with your customer. You need to communicate with the people you buy from. The better you are at communicating, the better everybody is around you. So you're going to be communicating with this person who wants to work with you, your teammate. Even though you're the one in charge, you're the one taking on the responsibility, you need to be able to make this person feel like he's part of the team. I'm telling you, these are the things that everybody wants. Now, if you are a negative person, and you can really choose to be, talk about all the negative things and just create an atmosphere around you that is negative. And everybody around you will tend to add to what your negativity is and say, yeah, this and yeah, that. Or if you're positive, thinking positively, thinking optimistically, you're going to get that return from the universe, and particularly from your employees. And whenever they have a tough time at home, they're going to be actually feeling welcome. It's going to be a good time for them to come into your atmosphere where you're not beating them up, where you're encouraging them to be more than what they are. You're literally teaching them a lot of times, like a new employee, you're teaching them how to do the things you do. You have to be patient. You see, all these things are leaning on you, not your employee, but you being patient with that employee so that, and a teacher and a communicator, you see, and a leader. There's so many things that you need to do in order to keep employees. That is important that you understand that. You need to continue to improve. And I would say that you're not going to be perfect. I know, goodness gracious, I know I'm not. So, how much does it cost to apologize if you make a mistake or you say the wrong thing? Hey, man, I apologize. I shouldn't have said that. Da da da. Hey, I'm sorry I bumped you. I'm sorry I banged you with that board. What does that cost? It literally costs you nothing. But again, this is humility, a conscience, patience, leadership, communication. All these things are part of keeping those employees wanting to work with you. So you're constantly learning, and they're in that adventure with you. They know that you're the one that's going to bear the expense if something goes wrong, not them. You're going to. I've heard of these guys who will come along and say, you screwed that up, you're paying for it. No, what you've got to understand as the employer, unless they deliberately did something on purposely did it wrong, they don't have that responsibility. They didn't know. And you was like, well, it's common sense. No, it's not. If people had somebody just drive through a garage door and then through the wall and through into another wall. Okay, things happen. That's not what you expect your employee to do. But what I'm saying is, you carry insurance for those kind of problems, and you have to not lose your temper. Now we're talking about another quality that you need to have in order to keep your employees, and that's self-control. Discipline is part of self-control, but self-control is where you don't lose your uh, anger and just lose control of the situation because you're frustrated and totally upset about it. You're going to have to stay in control of it. It's a constantly transforming thing to be an employee and an employer. The employee, if they're any good, they're going to always be testing you to see if you can teach them more. And if they're a good employee, they're going to be encouraging you right back. Because remember what I told you, you're encouraging them. You're providing an optimistic, they're going to be doing the same thing. When you're feeling like a little bit down, you'd be surprised. All of a sudden, this guy that you hadn't known a year ago or 6 months ago or a month ago, even a day ago, might actually be saying something positive to you. Believe me, these things will come back to you. So get to know that person that you're working with so that you can not tell them how to run their life, but you literally have to be planning how the things that you say so that you can be encouraging to them and in their life. You don't say, well, I went through a divorce too. I know what it's like. You got to be tough enough. You got to blah, 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 blah. No, you need to be gentle and kind and understanding with these guys. You're going to have to be that part-time therapist, which is sometimes just to talk. Let them talk about if they get ready to talk to you, consider it a privilege. They're letting you in their confidence, and then keep it in confidence. So you can be trusted. You are the person who sets the tone, sets the pace, chooses the direction and takes the responsibility if something bad happens or good happens. And guess what? When good happens, you need to point out to that person, hey man, you did a good job. I really appreciate you staying with me for the long hours today. Thank you. I appreciate it. How much does that cost you? It really, you know, um, I know when I went to a Fred Pryor seminar many, many years ago, they said money is a stimulator. It is not a motivator. Well, I disagree with that, but it is not the only motivator. So, and I told them then, it's not the only motivator, but the things that motivate people and create loyalty are the things that you do to create a good atmosphere for them. And that loyalty to you comes from you doing the right things with them. It's you're going to find that every time if anybody talks to me about, how do I deal with this or how do I deal with that? Uh, there was somebody called me today and he was like really worried about, the guy, his department. It's a big, big corporation. And they're saying, well, you need to tell us, he told his manager and that manager told the supervisor and the supervisor told this guy. I told him, I was like, look, it's your job to be positive about what's going on. You need to be helpful. Have you went to this other building to see? No, well, maybe you should. Even if it's on your own time, go see how far away and how hard of a drive it is to another place. You made a suggestion. Be positive, though. Be helpful to this person that's with you. That's what I was trying to imply to him. So, and this is across the nation, another person. So, in a huge corporation, what I suggest is that we look to encourage one another to be more so that we get the satisfaction of the accomplishment working together. And that will be a motivation to get that those successes that you have will be the motivation for that person to want to come to work for you. If you pay good, that helps. You're going to have to when it comes to the trades. You're just going to have to because you don't want them to go to work for McDonald's for a dollar an hour more or less. They don't have to deal with weather or nothing else. If they work at a retail store, they're in the air conditioning and heat. So you get what I'm saying. You need to be a comfortable place for them to arrive to. You need to be an encouraging place for them to exist in and to grow in. You're going to be encouraging them to take on responsibility. Give them opportunities. And if they don't want to take it or they don't take it, you're not going to beat them up about it. You might point it out, hey, I hope you know I gave you a chance. Just want you to know. Not here to chew you out. You had a choice. You chose not to. But I did leave this opportunity for you to step up. Okay? That is telling people, hey, this is what you needed to do to be better. Okay? You are going to have to be that person without making them feel mad at you or hurt, wounded by you and things you said. So this is what you're doing with the people that work with you. And it's harder to do it in as good a job when you have 100 guys working for you or 200. It's harder. Now you're talking with the guys underneath you. So if you're a field superintendent, you're running, I ran at one point, it was 17 jobs. I believe it was 17, might have been more. And I dealt with day labor and the people that are in charge of those people. So each one of those jobs had somebody in charge of it. I didn't talk to every employee on every one of those jobs because it's scattered all the way across from the bottom of Florida all the way to the top of Florida. Okay, they were all over the place. I couldn't be everywhere, so I had to communicate with the foremans. And those foremans, it was their job to communicate with the people underneath them. So if I was mean to that foreman, it would be a skilled foreman who would not pass it on to the people he works with. Because a lot of times that's what guys do. The guys at the top are under pressure and, oh, I can't believe this. Come on, and go on to the next foreman. He didn't have anything to do with your mood. And you bleed off on him and get all mad at him for no good reason. And he gets mad at the people below him, and it creates an atmosphere from the top down. Okay. So it's really up to you to swallow all that misery and power that is pushing you off your seat. You have to stay in the seat and power back without losing your temper, without making people feel bad to be around you because of all the stress you're dealing with. It's overwhelming at times, all the things that you have to deal with, especially when you're self-employed. It's overwhelming in all situations, but you learn to deal with it. Just like as if you can't control the ocean when you're swimming in it, you can control the things that you do. Okay? Those are the things you need to make sure that you're not just wasting a whole lot of injury, all at one time when you need to go the long haul. There's a lot of things. You cannot change the ocean, but you can survive it. You can exist in it. So you are going to have to help those people who are working with you to do the same thing in their life. They need to be able to leave work not totally angry and then go home and be angry with their family. Be angry with everybody that they meet along the way on the road, honking horns and slamming on brakes and passing people, shooting a finger at them. You got to think that person has a lot of reasons to be angry. Are you, as an employer, one of them? Have you made a good atmosphere for that employee to want to stay with you when they could? This other kid, man, I love my boss. He's a great guy, man. He really thinks about how to protect all of us and looks after us and tries to be encouraging. I'm telling you, if you do those things, people will ask you, hey, are you hiring? I'm telling you, it will happen. So what I'm trying to say is you're creating an atmosphere with your employees where they want to be there. That is a positive attitude. Okay? You do not chew them out in front of everybody. You just don't do it. You take them off to the side and privately tell them, hey, this is where you messed up. This is what I need you to do better. And I know you can. Try to do better. You see what I'm talking about? It takes from you not that much. It makes you more than what you are. Not just a base person that bounces around with impulse. You're in charge of influencing people to be more. It's like you're the coach for the football team. Now, you see coaches that chew their players out, but the ones who are classically good are the ones that work all those guys into a team feeling where they feel strong as a team. They think about each other. They encourage one another. The whole atmosphere is to push one another onto other things. So I'm trying to leave this very simple. I do not want to break down every situation for you, but you are going to keep employees if you make the atmosphere for them comfortable, where they can feel like they are going to grow. They're not stagnant. If you make an employee dig a ditch every day and he's got no hope of ever being any more than a ditch digger, you're probably not going to keep that guy unless he's just beat down. And you don't want the people around you to be beat down. That is what you leave behind, how you affect other people. Because you can make billions of dollars and your family within just a generation or so is going to spend it all. Ask the Vanderbilts. The Vanderbilts went through a ton of money, and there's very little of it left. Okay, just went away. So the relationships, the way you affect other people, is far longer lasting because they influence other people because of you. So now you're affecting the customer and you're affecting that employee. Be a good teacher. Teach them the things you know. And if you think they're going to take your job, well, guess what that means? You need to grow. You need to learn more. You need to be better. Keep on getting better. That way they're behind you, not in front of you. You're just going to have to be more than what you are. That's what I'm going to always say. You need to continue to grow. And when you make a mistake, it doesn't cost you anything to apologize. It really doesn't. So embrace it. It's just that simple. All right? It's just that simple. Make it a strong, positive, confident place that's encouraging and upbeat for these employees to come to, and they'll pass up higher paying jobs to work for you because they know the atmosphere is what they want. They're growing. They're becoming more than what they are. They feel good about being there. Maybe the only place they feel good, but you provide that, and then they convey that to the customer. Ends up being you leave a legacy. So I want you to keep that in mind. I know it's not a real long speech. I could make it longer, but I really want you to focus on what I told you. Create the atmosphere, and they will stay. Circumstances might take them away from you, or they might decide, hey, I'm going to start my own business. What does that, if they start a business in your area, only thing that means is you need to get better. So I'm always going to be the guy to tell you to be more. They're going to be with you because they want to be, because you created that place that's moving forward, positive thinking, and comforting to people that are in pain. You're going to be that guy, and you're going to keep your employees. I promise you. All right. I have made it as simple as I could. I'm starting to loop a little bit. If I had an outline, I probably could take you into hours, but I don't want to do that. I want to make it simple. This is as if I'm talking to my boys who are now 25, rolling on toward 26 there, and I have one that's 28. I don't want to bore them to death with a whole hour-long discussion about keeping employees. Do you notice I didn't say keep giving them more money? That you should be smart enough to know you can't just not pay people. But I am talking to you about how you need to be more, continue to grow, and then lift them along with you, rising all those boats at the same when you rise. Those guys might be the very leaders when your company gets bigger, that are the leaders as foremen for you. I have seen it happen. At one point in the commercial construction trades, I had 4 helpers that were my helpers that were foremen. And that was within 3 or 4 years. And now it sounds ridiculous. I was a commercial metal stud and drywall. Within 3 or 4 years, I had four helpers that started with me and later on became foremen. Probably 5 years. So I didn't, feel I was threatened by them. Whenever I came up on the job and they were the foreman, I didn't make them feel threatened by me. They knew good and well I was going to support them. They also knew good and well not to undermine me just because they got a chance to be in power position over me. We didn't even have that come up. And I was a way tougher guy than I am now. I'm a soft and gentle guy comparatively. So I'm telling you, lift these guys up and you're going to have great people around you. All right. I'm going to leave it like that. And I'm going to say, hope to see you next week. And I wish all of you all the best. And I hope your employees are always happy. See you later.